Hey everybody, Christina here with the Country Central podcast. We are so excited to be back again this week. Before we kick off our podcast for this week and our discussion for this week, we wanted to let you guys know we have a brand new playlist, Country Central Country Finds. It was actually a hot take a few weeks ago. Somebody mentioned that they would love a recommendations playlist from the Country Central team, because obviously we are huge country fans, and it is officially live. It is called Country Finds. If you head to wherever you find your playlist, Apple, Spotify, we are there at Country Central. And just to list off a few of them. So basically the way we did it was our team went in and we all listed a few songs that we are listening to right now or that we would think our followers would be interested in. It doesn't have to be a new music. It doesn't have to be there's really no specific qualifications for the songs that we put, which I think is cool. So we've got a Gabe Lee song, Nicholas Jamerson, a Jake Worthington song. I added an Ian Munsick song, and Cam, I don't know if you guys know, I don't know. She was really big to me a few years ago, and her sophomore album is one of my favorites. So I added a Cam song. There's a Stapleton song on there. So it's a really cool playlist. And if you want to hear the pulse of country music from Country Central and what we're listening to, it is a wide variety of types of country music, and I think that's the coolest part of it. So head to Country Central wherever you listen to your music and check out Country Finds.
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. I think what folks don't always realize is like we have a big team. Like at this point, there's like 8 of us. Like it started out with just our graphic designer who does all the hot takes and everything, and like it's evolved like quite a bit, and we're super proud of that. And one of my favorite things is like we have like such like eclectic voices when it comes to like the different types of country music that we like. So yeah, we do like the new music, and that's kind of like all encompassing. But with this playlist, like I love the fact that, you know, it's got a little more personality, and like it does like cater a little bit better to what anybody might like. And that said, something that I wanted to get into on the podcast that I've been thinking about for some time, like we've seen this trend in the last like 5 or 6 years where an artist who might be like super big to a particular scene, maybe it's the Texas scene or even like TikTok or something like that, they'll make this move to like mainstream country music and just like absolutely blow up and like maybe just have a moment for like a year. But like Cody Johnson, like he's here to stay right now, but he's been cool to people for over a decade. Like folks who see Cody Johnson nominated for the CMA New Artist of the Year, like what on earth? Like I've been a Cody Johnson fan since 2010. Like he's played my favorite venues in Texas like since I can remember, since I first got into country music. And it's been like a funny phenomenon because like these artists that are cool to like little pockets of America are getting their chance now to like show up and just crush it on the big stage and be on the award shows and do the stadium tours even to an extent in Cody Johnson's case with Luke Combs. So that's what I kind of wanted to do today is talk about some of these artists right now who are established. They have like big followings. They have like more than 100,000 followers on Instagram, but they haven't had like a hit yet. And they haven't had a mainstream moment where any radio listener or any follower of like the hot country playlist on Spotify would know who they are. And these are the people I wanted to get into. And I wanted to start it off by playing a little game with Brandon and Christina, where I'm going to give y'all an artist, and you're going to tell me if they would want to or they're capable of making that move, that like seismic leap to the A tier. And the first one I wanted to talk about was the impetus for this podcast, and that's Ian Munsick.
Ian, I definitely believe has the potential to have a hit. I think we just talked about before we all got on the podcast, but with his last album, Jack had just mentioned how more radio friendly a lot of the songs on this album are. To be honest with you, I recently discovered Ian, and I wasn't even aware that he was even out there. I know he's with Warner Brothers, but I wasn't even aware that he had been out there for the past few years. So I've recently gotten into Ian. I'm a huge fan of his song Dig. I think, honestly, that has huge potential of being at radio, even though it is a lower tempo song, but there's so much meaning behind it. And I think his voice is just so unique behind the male artists that we have out there right now. I think it's really distinguishable. So I do want to say that he has a really good potential at this point at having a radio hit, and he's with the major label. So I'm like, can we just push this forward? Because like he would make such a great potential.
I have to agree with you. I definitely knew who he was last year. And Jack was just telling me that he was going to be one of the artists that we talked about. And I was actually shocked that I thought he was super new to the scene. Let's put it that way. But like Brandon said, his voice is so unique. And I think that alone is going to be really huge for him, because as soon as you hear his song, you're going to know that it's him. And he recently put out an album. Obviously, I've had that on repeat, but More Than Me is one of the songs that really got me. It was one of the previously released tracks before the album, and it's about a man knowing that he the right woman because she loves Jesus more than him. And for you to be able to put that on a record, and it's just such a beautiful song, and when you listen to it, you're not really sure what it's getting into, and then when it hits, you're like, oh, like, I don't know. That song really was the reason I started literally listening to him. And then Long Live Cowgirls, that has Cody Johnson on it. Their voices are so different, but so blended beautifully together on that song. So I absolutely think he will have a moment. I saw him at CRS in March, and he was sick, and you could tell he was sick. Like his throat. Cody actually was sick also. Cody was supposed to play the same luncheon, and Cody canceled because he was so sick. And Ian was really sick, and he pushed through it, and said throughout in the middle of the songs was like, guys, like, I'm sorry, but just the way he pushed his voice and did his thing and got the crowd into it, and his band was electric. It made me fall in love with him all over again, seeing him live. And so I think anybody that's seen him live will already know that it's going to be something big for him. And then once you get to see him live, if you haven't yet, I think it's going to click, and you're going to get it.
And Long Live Cowgirls just went gold. You actually just put that on your story, Christina. Yeah, so I think that's great too, because it's kind of giving him a little bit of amp, because, now, I mean, I don't know if he was a certified artist before at any point with any of his music, but now that he kind of has that tie with Cody, I feel like there's got to be some type of potential right there.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on this one, because I'm not going to say I was like ride or die from the beginning, but I got his album Coyote Cry when it came out in early 2021. And it was like this funny blend of like contemporary, but also like Western, like not country, but Western. And going back to his first EP, like Horses Are Faster, like it would have been easy for me to categorize him as like cool guy country, like quote unquote, like kind of like the Sturgill Simpson, like even like Tyler Childers crowd, where it's like, if you listen to the radio, like you're not cool enough for this guy, because like he had this like strong bluegrass influence. It felt very, very folksy, and it was just him and the guitar. But then I found him on TikTok, and he was covering like Post Malone and doing all these like goofy interpretations that were very cool. And I feel like gradually he's made this move towards a more contemporary sound. And to be honest, as much as I love traditional country, like I feel like it suits him better because he has a sense of humor. He has like a strong way around a hook. And I think that he's made for radio country. He brings the authenticity. He's a stupid good guitar player. And I think that he's really the whole package. Like we talk all the time, like you've got to stand out, you've got to be different. Like he's that. He has that nasal sound that's awesome. And he's still playing Horses Are Faster, and he's building an audience quickly. And like Brandon, you said, he's signed to a major label. I feel like it's only a matter of time. It's going to be awesome. Next one on my list is Morgan Wade. What do y'all think?
To be honest, I don't know too much about Morgan Wade, but I don't know. It's tough. It's tough for me because I see a lot of these females that really try, and I don't want to say that there's sexism going on or if there's a gender bias, but I see a lot of these females that try to make it, and I don't know if it's the team backing them up, but I really don't. I don't know with her, and I don't know too much about her music, and I want to be all there for the girl power because I am, but I don't know too much about her music to really know, but I feel like a lot of the females have a little bit more of a struggle. I think right now it's a little bit better, but I think in years past, I don't know if she really would have had a shot. But maybe Christina, you can help me out with this one. But I don't know too much about her music, so that's where I'm like in the middle right there.
I think she brings a very unique story. If you listen to her music, it it's definitely hard to listen to if you've dealt with some things. And I think we need that. It's not bubblegum princess singing. It's not, I'm going to kill my husband because he cheated, like, which we have a lot. Sorry, did you guys like that little
No,
dance
you
move?
right.
If you're
You
listening
right.
on the podcast, you better go ahead to YouTube or watch this. Um, but I think she's like, when I see videos of her or when I listen to her music, the word cool, like she's just, and I've heard this from people in the industry, like she's just cool. She's got all these tattoos and she's got a really cool, like gritty voice. I don't know really see, I mean, like her breakout single Wilder Days, I think was the shot. I don't know if she has any more. I haven't really listened too much to her album, but the songs that I have heard are dark, and that's okay. Like we need that too, and I think everybody's gonna have a time when they're gonna want to listen to that. But speaking on mainstream, speaking on radio hits, I don't know. Wilder Days is great. That song is awesome. She reminds me kind of a young Ashley McBride. Not just because they have neck tattoos, which I think are like tattoos on their body, but just because like the authenticity that they bring to and just the other side of a female artist. Like not all females are going to be beautiful like Carrie Underwood and
Mhm.
Kelsey Ballerini. They have their own lane of beauty. And they bring their own perspective. And I think Ashley does that really well. And I'm not sure if there is a place with the music that she has out right now, but you never know.
Yeah, I go back and forth on this one because Brandon, you and I did the episode a couple of months back about like aesthetics, and like my gosh, does Morgan Wade have that? Like she has a very self-styled image that excuse me parallels nicely with her music. Like it really does like all come together, and like it's almost like Kurt Cobain or something. Like you
Mm.
see her and you see her music basically. It's rough, it's honest, and it's like awesome. So that said, I'm kind of on the side of like who are maybe staying away from mainstream country. Like I ventured the other way a little bit because she just like performed in an ensemble at the CMT Awards. She signed to a big label. But like you said, Christina, like the honesty factor is something that, for better or worse, radio does dilute. And that's not just true of country radio. That's pop radio, and that goes
Yeah.
back decades. Like radio wants to hear, a pleasant message. Like even if it's a little sad, like it has to be like something fun and palatable that you can just like turn on and connect with. And that's not always true with Morgan Wade. I'm a big fan of hers, but I think that she's like maybe better off like steering clear of the mainstream. And I'm going to be really honest, it does not help that she shares a name with another Morgan W. Like,
That's yeah.
I mean, for better or worse, like that's definitely a factor.
And when you were
Uh,
saying this, when you were saying her name, I was like, is it to say Morgan Wallen right now? I was like,
the undiscovered star, Morgan Wallen.
yeah.
But anyway, another
So
one, Cameron
underrated.
Marlowe, Brandon.
Cameron, okay. Cameron, I'm a huge fan of, and I really think he has so much potential. Actually, I have his record right here, everyone. If you're watching this on YouTube, but I love his music so much. I thought his debut record was a really solid album. He came out with his first single being "Giving Up on You" or "Giving You Up," excuse me, which I thought had really strong potential, but barely cracked the top 40. So I figured, like, kind of like what you were saying, Christina, like, if he had a shot, I kind of feel like it could have been that one or Girl on Fire. I mean, that like,
Yes, yes,
great one, too. Another one I like on that album is Burn It Down. Burn It Down? Yeah,
yeah.
Burn
That's
It
it.
Down. Yeah. So I feel like any one of those three would have been, like, the shot. So now that we're not really seeing too much of him on the radio, I'm like, I don't really know like where he goes with this. He released that track which was that voice audio recording. I actually did the review on it, and I can't remember the title of it. But obviously, we're not going to see that go to radio. That was just kind of something that he wanted to release on his own. At this point, with that album coming out in August of this past year, if they do a sophomore record, I feel like this might be his only shot with the label. I don't really know how much further this is going to go. I would love to see him have a smash hit on the radio. Like, he has done such a superb job with his writing skills. He's literally a trailblazer in Nashville. I would say that much about him, and he's got a really unique style from his roots in North Carolina, and I think he has a really great artistic development as well. So it would really be a shame to not see him have a radio hit or some type of massive hit after this. And what's wild to me too is, I'm just going to say this, the music video for Giving You Up on YouTube has, I think it's surpassed like 47 million views, or
Yeah.
might be 44, but it's in like the mid 40s. And I'm like, wow, like, you see how many views that gets, and then that only hitting, I think it was like number 44 on Country Airplane, and you're like, it's shocking. So I really would love to see the potential, because the fan base is there. He's with Warner, so I'm really hoping for him. But I don't know, it's tough when you've already put out a debut album, and you've got to work on new material because there hasn't really been a viable single.
I think the thing we have to focus on, and this is more of a generalized conversation rather than I'll give my thoughts on Cameron, but does it matter as much? Obviously, no, country music is still very terrestrial radio based, and number one. I know how important that is. But we've seen a lot of artists have great careers without country radio, or without one hit, or without that big, we've seen that. And like you said, YouTube, like, so people are listening, people are interested.
Mm-hmm.
And my thoughts on Cameron, I am open for Hardy and Morgan. And I was up front, and I love his music. I wasn't totally blown away by his performance, but that also could be because he was followed by Hardy and Morgan. Like, so like when I walked out of there, was I remembering Cameron's performance? No, I wasn't. And honestly, yeah, I wasn't even remembering Morgan's performance. I was remembering Hardy's performance. Because I'm biased, but I love Hardy. But anyway, I think, like you said, I think those were two really good shots. And obviously has the fan base that's listening and tuning in and following along and listening to what he's doing. So part of me wants to say, for an artist like him, it won't as much. I guess it does matter, but Giving You Up is a great song. It's always going to be a great song. But I'm not sure. But you never know. Like, if he could put out another album, and there could be the song on that album that catches the radio's attention and rides up the charts. So I don't really know. But another little anecdote that I was thinking about was how we were saying about how hard it is for women. Obviously, as a woman, I believe that, and I've seen it. I had a shirt that said Tomato on it, and that I used to wear to all the concerts. I don't know if everybody remembers Tomato Gate.
Absolutely.
But that was a long time ago. But also think in the same vein, and I'm probably going to get chewed out for this, but it's much easier for men, I think. But there's a lot of men doing this. There's a lot of men that are in the same age range, that look very similar, that have similar voices, and they're putting out songs that are very similar. They're all good. Tyler Braden, I love that guy. Like, I Try Losing One. That is such a good song, and his message is really good. He was in the fire department. Like, I love him. And again, he's another artist that, like, I would just love to see. And I've seen him live. He's really, really electric live. So as much as I know it's hard for women, I also think there's just a group of men that are trying as well, and that are super talented. And it's a little oversaturated right now. If you're not Ian Munsick and you sound completely different from everybody else, you have to figure out a way to stand out. And so I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Is that crazy talk? Or?
I have kind of a two-part response on that, and I think you're absolutely right in everything you're saying. But you're absolutely right that, like, there can be an advantage for some of these women who get spurned by country radio because they get a lot of that creative control back. I mean, Casey Musgraves totally proved this. Like, radio didn't play pageant material. They didn't play in the heyday of bro country. They didn't play same trailer, different park nearly as much as they did some of these dudes with just as much clout as her. And she put out Golden Hour, which was like a complete about face from anything that radio would sensibly play. It was pop leaning, but like kind of in the wrong ways. You know what I mean? It was deep, and that gave her the momentum that she needed to win the award show Triple Crown. She got Album of the Year at the CMAs, the ACMs, Grammy Country Album of the Year, and I think she may have gotten Grammy Album of the Year that year as well.
She
And
did.
the only records that have done that before are Fearless by Taylor and the Oh Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack. Like, that is like wild. And
Yeah.
the fact that she about faced from radio, that was her strength. And I think that even some of the dudes have noticed that and been like, I want a piece of that. That's what Chase Rice did. I mean, he completely veered away from what was working, what was selling tickets to his shows, and what was giving him like free rides to the top of the chart. And he's not going to get any of those free rides to the top of the chart, but he's doing something that he cares about. So, like we were talking about with Morgan Wade, like there's definitely two different paths a little bit. And as far as Cameron goes, Brandon, I hear what you're saying. Like, I get the feeling that this guy is like kind of emo at heart a little bit. Like, he has stuff to say. He does get buried a little bit with all the dudes. But I included him on this list because he has undeniable clout and people care what he says. I mean, the song that he did about like his love-hate relationship with Nashville, like
Right.
that had legs. And like, as we work in social media, like we can see these things. And like with Charles Wesley Godwin, for example, like the dude has 50,000 followers on Instagram. But if you look at the reels that we put out of him, and we do quite a few, like you would think that he's one of the top 10 artists.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an incredible disparity there that's very funny. And that's a decent enough segue because I do kind of want to talk about Charles. He just signed with Big Loud. And, we saw it with Zach Bryan a little bit where, he got the major label deal and he got like a minor radio hit, but a big hit, like, with people. So I'm curious if y'all think that CWG has that potential as well.
You want me to start? I'll start. I don't know him well enough to be completely honest. Everybody that follows our team a little bit, I came on at the end of last year, and I came from super, super mainstream outlets that focused on whoever was up the charts and, the biggest artists, and that was my job. So there are so many artists, and this is another reason why, to plug our playlist again, that I love our playlist, because the team at Country Central has such a variety of artists that I've never heard of. And I'm made country music my life, my career for the past almost 7-8 years. And so I don't know enough to say yes or no, but I know enough about Big Loud. They are innovative, they are smart, and they make good decisions on who they obviously bring into their family. So I can see that doing really well. And I love any music that you guys make me listen to. I know Josh always sends me something. He's like, listen to this. And I love it.
Yeah.
So I think people that are in the mainstream and have maybe a traditional leaning or lean away from pop country a little bit like I do, they will love it too.
So I think, Jack, you're going to have probably the most insight on this one because I'm on the same page as well. I really don't know much about him to say which way or the other. I will say this. I have looked at our reels that we've posted, and I've probably watched them for about 5 seconds because I'm like, this isn't my style. So I kind of just flip through. I think it's a little, for me, it's a little too folksy for me. It's a little too Americana, if you want to say. I don't know if that's quite there, but it's not quite for me. So I've only spent maybe 5-10 seconds kind of listening to him. So I don't know if he would have a mainstream radio hit because of the sound, because of the more traditional sounds. But yeah, I don't really know too much about him other than that. But I will attest to what Christina just said, and Big Loud is a great place for him. So they do have a great team over there. So I know that they will find the best creative development for him. So I do trust that would work out.
See, I definitely like think demographically you guys are like the perfect people to speak on this, especially like this question specifically, because I think that you're right. But I think that one thing that came up last year that I didn't really realize was that in the advent of like Zach Bryan's like conquest with American Heartbreak to like prove that like the indie country folks can like hang with the big leagues as well, what we learned is that there's a sect of country listeners who don't identify as country listeners, who don't listen to country music at all, but who might listen to like Noah Kahn, for example, or Zach, whose tastes might be more aligned with like alt pop, like acoustic, like folk artists, who may indeed like have a place on like any country listeners playlist as well. There's like kind of an in between place between like alt pop and country music, and I think that that's where he falls a little bit. I think that he has the momentum to build a fan base in country music, but I think that his fans will come from non-country listeners as well. The ones who were like kind of disillusioned by the last 10 years of Nashville and didn't feel like it's for them, but who listened to Stick Season or American Heartbreak and thought like, oh, that's country music I like. Like I think those people
Right.
exist. But I wanted to answer something you said earlier, Christina, which was like, does it matter like if they have like the radio hit or not? And I think that like Cody Johnson is pretty glad that Till You Can't happened. Parker McCollum is glad that Pretty Heart happened,
Mm-hmm.
because like I don't know about y'all, but I like to see my favorites like get to take the step to the next level a little bit, because I wasn't a Cody Johnson fan, even though I was aware of him. I wasn't a fan until that song happened. And another artist who I feel like is kind of in that camp, who's had fans, who's been like well known by the industry and by like listeners for some time, especially as I like watch streaming numbers, is Haley Witters. And she kind of like took her swing at radio with Everything She Ain't, and it happened, but it didn't happen. It was a TikTok moment.
Yeah.
Because I was first like introduced to her when the Brothers Osborne were talking about Old Town Road when that was happening, and then like, we don't need to be talking about Old Town Road. We need to talk about Haley Witters. And I think they're absolutely right. And that's why I want to turn this one over to y'all to see if, in her second swing, if she's got a shot.
I love her. And again, Big Loud, Songs and Daughters. She's
Yes.
with Luke Combs's management team, Cappy. I think she is such a strong like way about her, and such a unique way about her. And I mean, the corn thing had a moment, and that was cool. And her songs, I mean, she's doing really well out on the road. It looks like it seems that she's doing really well on the road. She was just on Today's Show, maybe. Right? Was it Today's
Yeah,
Show?
I
She
think
sang
so.
I think
Train
so.
Queen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that those moments for her are really going to continue to captivate new followers and new fans. And I don't see why, if Carly Pierce can have a moment, why Kelsey Ballerini can have a moment, why Casey can have her moment. I don't know why, not on radio, but like have this fan base love her and have them love her music. I don't see why she can't. To traditional radio, I'm not sure, but I'm going to keep listening. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are just going to keep listening to her. Her album, both of her albums have just been so great. I love her. If you haven't listened to her album Raised, it really is incredible. And I think
Yeah.
she deserves more than she's getting as far as mainstream. But again, I think she'll continue to have a fan base that loves her.
I agree with that. And we actually talked, I think this was like a couple months ago, we were talking about upcoming singles, and we were like, do we think this is going to be like a number one or a top 10? And we had mentioned Haley, and I was like, I think she might have maybe this, like Everything She Ain't might be maybe top 10, but definitely would probably be like a top 20. I think she definitely has potential. And if anything, I think this song has kind of introduced her to the country community and the radio community. So I do feel like whatever single follows up with this, or whether she comes out with another project that they release a single from, I definitely think there's staying potential here. I definitely think she will have her moment, Christina, like you just said about, the other artists before her, like you just mentioned. So I definitely agree with you on that.
I think also, I'm just looking because I needed to get the exact name. Have you guys heard Janice at the Hotel Bar?
I have, yeah. That was like
I
one of the first
haven't.
ones I heard. Like after the
Th-
days, like that was the one.
Literally one
Yeah.
of my favorite songs, and the backstory, I won't bore you, but the backstory about that song is really, really cool. And I just decided that's going to be my song I'm adding on Sunday night to our playlist so everybody
Let's
can listen
go.
to it.
Plug, plug,
Uh,
plug.
but I think, but I like I agree with you. I think her album, if people just into her a little bit more, like 10-Year Town was the one that really started, people started listening to. And I think they were like, hey, she's got something. Or College Town. I'm just looking at
Yes,
her album.
yes.
It's
Hmm.
just,
Hmm.
it's really, really good. And I hope so. I hope that she can figure out a way to make it work at radio. I love her.
College Town is a banger and a half. I love Middle of America too. Shout out BJ Barham. But as we wrap this one up, I have one more for y'all. Just a simple yes or no. Chase Matthew.
No.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No. I saw him at TRS. I hate to say this. I hate being mean. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I know a lot of people are gonna get it though. So I'm gonna say
Yeah.
no. Brandon's gonna say no. He's gonna be number one next week. But
Don't
that's
tell me
okay.
that. Do not tell me
It's
that.
I'm just I don't know. But
It's all good.
I think there is potential for him at radio. Absolutely. And that's but I was sitting next to Josh, we were listening, and I was like, it's so like the songs are just very cliche and very um
He
I
can't
don't know.
sing.
I don't want to be mean, but I was not impressed.
It's all good. But y'all,
Sorry to my friends that work with him, but
on that somber note, we want to close this out right now. Thank you so much for hanging with us. You know, you can check us out all week long at Country Central on Instagram, the hot takes, the brand new Country Finds playlist, like Christina's mentioned. I'm sure we're going to mention it a bunch more times next episode. And, you know, until then, we'll catch you real soon with another episode.